Welcome to our annual completely unbiased Penn State football preview. Of course, you know Dave Seaman and I, no dog in the fight when it comes to Penn State football. Dave, that would be ridiculous because everyone knows we're big Penn State fans, but we can be unbiased. We're also professional journalists. I'm going to put this down for now. Dave, let's get into it. Let's start talking about the offense. Very prolific last year for Penn State, Dave. I think they relied a little too much on big plays. Maybe if they could be a little bit more consistent, get on time on offense just a little bit more, and limit the mistakes in the first half. Those are my concerns right now. Looking at the offense, do you think it'll be a step forward, a bigger step forward, even though they were so great last year?
You got to remember it's the second year under Coach Joe Moorhead too. Last year, the beginning of the season too, it was trying to get acclimated to his system, that fast-paced, no huddle, or what do they call it, a congregation, not a huddle, out of Penn State. Once they got that under their belts, it was a very prolific offense. I tend to agree with you. They do need to start games faster this year too. They need to, establish themselves on the ground with Saquon Barkley. But again, the big playability is there. Big thing in their favor this year is the offensive line's a lot more experienced. With the injuries last year, it allowed a lot of players to get experience. And I think they're going to be really good from the beginning at the offensive line position this year.
And Dave, let's go over to the defense side of the ball. I think the secondary can be scary good. There's some young guys there, freshmen, Tariq Castro-Fields and Lamont Wade, people are excited about, probably start on special teams. But of course, you have Grant Haley, Troy Apke, and Marcus Allen over there as well. Sean Spencer always seems to have the defensive line prepared, just much like Larry Johnson Sr. before him. Dave, I think the defense last year, they were on the field a lot in the first half. There were a lot of turnovers. They had short fields they were up against. I think maybe they tired in the second half. I think complementary football could really help them out this year.
There's no doubt, again, with a key part, I think, is looking at the defensive end position where they lost two starters last year. Garrett Sickles was phenomenal. Evan Schwan was very good pass rusher, too. So there's a lot of potential from what we've been hearing and reading about from State College about the young pass rushers, too. They may not be as big as some of the other guys that have played the position previously, but that's kind of a little tradition that's starting there, is like rushing the quarterback at Penn State. They've done it very well the last couple of years. A guy like Carl Nassib came through a couple of years ago. He had a big season. Garrett Sickles last year. So there's a lot of young tradition to uphold there. But guys like Shaka Toney and Sharif Miller, they're guys that are really being looked upon to carry on that little tradition.
And Dave, on special teams, I mean, they bring back Blake Gillikin, who will be doing the punting, and Tyler Davis plays kicking as well. You said this could be a real strength of the team.
Interested to see who returns kicks this year and returns punts. A lot of athletes to choose from. But we saw how big the special teams were last year against Ohio State. Obviously, a big part of that win and throughout the season. And I think Penn State, with their level of athleticism, guys that don't play regular downs will get a chance to establish themselves on the special teams.
And Gillikin, too, as a punter, Dave, I mean, when Penn State did struggle in some of those first halves, he was able to flip field position for them a lot, and give the defense a fighting chance and, kind of get things going. All right, well, let's move on before we make our predictions. Another big, very popular college football team around here, Notre Dame, and one of their biggest fans is our Ron Marchetti. He was disappointed with the season, as a number of Notre Dame fans were last year, probably all of them, and here he is talking about the 2017 season and expectations for the Fighting Irish and head coach Brian Kelly.
I think the bar is set. 8 wins. He has to win 8 games this year and lose 4. He'll be 8-4, and they go to a bowl and win. I don't care what bowl they go to, but they got to win a bowl. But I don't think that might not happen because they open up with Temple. And if they lose Temple, he should be gone that night.
So he has Coach Kelly on the hot seat there, Dave, and he has them finishing around 7-5. You said this could be a bounce-back year for Notre Dame. They were in a lot of those games last season.
They were. They lost a lot of games by, I think they led the country in games lost by a touchdown or less. They were in those games. If they tighten up the defense at Notre Dame, they're always going to play well offensively under Coach Kelly. I think Notre Dame could be a surprise team this year. And Notre Dame will get the benefit, of an early big game against Georgia. You win that game, a team like Notre Dame always traditionally jumps up in the polls too. So
let's wrap things up. One thing I have to say, Dave will be inducted into the Hazleton Area Sports Hall of Fame this year, and I'm so happy the whole time he wore this Penn State football schedule poster. I'm thinking, here's a Hall of Famer who loves his Nittany Lions. If you could be any Penn State football player, who would you want to be? I was thinking I'd like to be Michael Robinson because he's my favorite, and I mean, he caught touchdown passes, he threw touchdown passes, lived through that great 2005 season. Then I thought maybe Sam Fickett too, because he really felt, the highs and the lows of what it's like to be a football player.
I think I go back to like when I went to school there. Shane Conlon was an All-American linebacker. He was the guy who epitomized the '86 national championship team too. He had a couple big interceptions in the Fiesta Bowl, win over Miami to clinch the national championship, and the guy was always around making big plays, terrorizing opposing quarterbacks and running backs, and a dynamite leader. He went on to have a successful pro career with the Buffalo Bills and then later the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, Shane Conlon would probably be my number one, but it's hard to pin you down for one specific player.
All right, let's make our big predictions right now, Dave. I'm going with 10-2 in the middle because I think if this team can be more consistent on offense, limit the mistakes, I really think I'm looking at an undefeated team. This is a top 10 team right now. I think if all those things come together, they can go 12-0. But I think if they do struggle with some of those issues, and I think they might, I think there could be some issues with this team. It's a tough schedule. I'm going to put Penn State at 10-2 through the regular season.
I think what happens this year is the schedule does get tougher. I don't think it's I think the team will be better, but the other teams might be better too.
Well, we'll see what happens. It all starts this Saturday as Penn State takes on Akron at home. Dave, thank you so much for joining us and being a good sport with your Penn State schedule poster.